We created the wheel, the combi, the scooter, the Harley, the airplane. And we found out that, even without wings, we can fly. But the big complication appears when we notice that we can go undated to come back. What's happening is the fact that we don't even have time to come back to our homes. We spend a lot more times performing outside duties, and the places where we do it have an environment of generalized feature. We have the sensation that in there is necessary to contain our personalities because sometimes we did not fit in that specific place. For us to interact, we emphasize our characteristics and behaviors that are accepted there. At least, this way was how we behaved ourselves until we noticed that this constant demand makes us feel emotionally stressed. Unconsciously, we're obligated to repress feelings, thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that we would desire to express. Our home, therefore, it is a refuge where we allow ourselves to be free. Carrying the own house in the back was common to the prehistorical people. The nomads did not develop roots in their habitats. They just went over and over, step by step, searching for a better place with better life conditions. After a long time, we mastered the agriculture and started to suit in their environment, and we built a life there, allowing ourselves to have a less dependent daily on the natural instabilities. This way, we started building stronger homes. We set our feet at sides of lakes and rivers and made possible to have religion, culture, and handicraft. At this point, we had a place to call our own. Later, under the dark and oppressive control of the Catholic Church, the rules were simple and clear. Nothing was allowed and everything was a sin. From the virtuous work to the most intimate wishes of the man, everything was a service of God. There was no reason, just faith. Social mobility did not exist. A man that was born in a servant crib would die in a servant coffin. Your destiny was traced in the moment you were born, in a society mostly miserable. No accident that this period of time was called the Dark Ages by a group known as the Renaissance. With the increasing appreciation of the Greek-Roman ideals, it consolidated what we understand today as the Cultural Renaissance, the scientific, artistic, urban, and philosophical development. With anthropocentrism, the body, that before was a fountain of sin, it started to be a fountain of beauty and perfection. With individualism, individual capabilities and abilities to be valued by the society. Pleasure, back then condemned, is called of hedonism, a conception of pleasure known as a search for happiness and the only way to get rid of the pain. This period marked a jump to freedom. The successive technological innovations were brought by the Industrial Revolution that replaced the handmade work. It laid aside craft production, and with that, it was possible to feel like home in the workplace. With working hours and even bigger responsibilities, our eyes started to look at the clock, and time started to be our worst enemy. The anxiety to produce more to earn more money, often spending more time at work than at home, gave power to movements like Romanticism, which made us to think about our essence and individuality. The crave for freedom of speech and the emotion over the reason brought a revolution in the community ways of life. The human reinvented itself in an amazing speed in the 20th century at the age that no oil barrel was extracted, the unthinkable moon landing. These transformations changed radically not just the way that people lived, but also the way they were born and died. It had shaped our standard of well-being and comfort. We started to show our personality and to live more and more valuing our feelings and letting the acts and the way of dressing to be a mirror of the interior of each. Inventions from that time revolutionized transportation and ways of communication, changing the relation of man with space and time.
An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it?
The world seemed to be small. We assimilated and incorporated the machines, changing sensibility and ways of life. Sports became a relevant part of our society. To watch it later on television was a popular activity. Science and technology can bring us material comfort, but a nostalgia from a natural way of living remain. The imposed speed in the daily life, the aggravated illness in the relationships, they provided the creation of the entertainment society moved by image, but they deceived the authentic feelings and desires. The 20th century man stepped at the moon and traveled through the stars. But here on Earth, he wasn't able to stop wars, intolerance, neither hunger. Man mastered the nature and conquered the world, yet surviving this planet is every day more risky. Currently, we are recognized for an accelerated growth, with constant changes of behavior having strong influence by the technology. There was an evolution in all sectors. It is easier to have access to art, sports, news, music, medicines. We see everything in high definition. However, tendencies that usually last for a decade now doesn't even last for a year. We do nowadays what in the past years would take a week to be done. The instantaneous information allows us to have access to things that before it took a life to be known. Cell phones and smartphones made us available 24/7. This amount of information generated on us anxiety to participate, to try. With it, we stop and look back to ourselves. We reflect and prefer to know other cultures than to have goods. We want to go undated to come back, but we feel the need to feel at home every corner we are. We feel free to express, with no pressure or anxiety to have everything for yesterday. This is a tendency that says as to how important home is for life. There is then a run of return to simplicity of home, the search for a space more human and less subjective. Sensory fruition is what gives us the sensation of being connected with the environment and not submerged on it. It reflects the way of being of each one in which we seek comfort, well-being, reception, even in the minimum period of time, like in a break to have a coffee or even when we perform some professional or academic task. It is increasingly rare to have time for yourself and for the others. The handmade minimalism, nostalgic, like it was at home, be in the decoration, architecture, or in the lifestyle, as in the way to get dressed, eat, or even have fun, comes up as a possibility to relieve our body and our mind. It is to realize that we are free to express ourselves in the middle of people who understand us and with who we think are worth to share experiences. Comfy freedom is reached when we learn to notice the other and also to notice us. When our minds can properly interpretate informations of world and relations. Without deprivation and excess, it gets easier to pay attention in our feelings, thoughts, and sensations, simplifying the personal relationships and the daily tasks of our exhausting and stressful routine. In other words, it is returning to the world, the title, My Home, that is so essential to our physical and psychological well-being.